My name is Lamar Thorpe, and I am the proud mayor of the city of Antioch. And so, Mr. Chan, who is a World War II vet, a Navy vet, I am also a Navy vet, so I am here with great pride. Remembers a time in Antioch's history that again we're not so proud of, and that was in 1939 when he was headed home from the World's Fair in San Francisco, and stopped in Antioch just for a meal, and was not served. Not because he was some adolescent who wasn't behaving, but because he was Chinese. It was for that simple reason, because of what he looked like, what his last name was, where he came from, where his family came from, and that wasn't right. And as an African-American mayor, as an African-American man in this country, I know what that feels like. We still experience some of those things today. We're seeing a rise in anti-Asian American hate throughout our country that started with the pandemic, but let's not be blind to the fact that that was happening even before the pandemic. And so we took the right steps in our city to apologize for our bad deeds back in 1876. We apologize officially to early Chinese immigrants, to their descendants, and to the larger Asian American community in the Bay Area and throughout our country. And we were proud of that because we were the first city in California to ever do that. When I heard from Ron, he told me about this experience that you had in Antioch, and this was supposed to be framed in the mayor's office in the city of Antioch. And I said, I would prefer to give this to Mr. Chan, to you, Mr. Chan. And I'm gonna read it to you. It says, City of Antioch, resolution number 2021-88. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Antioch apologizing to early Chinese immigrants and their descendants for acts of fundamental injustice, seeking forgiveness and committing to rectification of past misdeeds. And by 1870, there were an estimated 63,000 Chinese in the United States, 77% of whom resided in the state of California. Whereas many Chinese immigrants were met with racism, scapegoating, and anti-Chinese sentiment, also known as xenophobia, which was at its highest between 1850 and 1870. Whereas Antioch and its early years was not exempt from xenophobia. Whereas this period of Antioch's history, like most of America, is known as the driving out period, where there were forced removals of Chinese immigrants. Whereas during the driving out period, Antioch officially became a sundown town when it banned Chinese residents from walking city streets after sunset. Whereas in order to get from their jobs to their homes every evening, Chinese residents built a series of tunnels connecting the business district to where I Street met the waterfront. Whereas in 1876, Chinese residents were told by white mobs that they had until 3 p.m. to leave Antioch with no exceptions. Whereas the Chinese residents were forced out, Chinatown was burned to the ground, and Antioch made headline news. The Caucasian torch, wrote the Sacramento Bee, lighted the way of the heathen out of the wilderness. And quote, the actions of citizens of this place will, without doubt, meet with hearty approval of every man, woman, and child in the Pacific Coast, wrote the San Francisco Chronicle. Whereas Antioch's early period helped negatively contribute to the nation's xenophobic discourse, which led to legal discrimination in public policy with the establishment of the Chinese Exclusion Act. Whereas the system of the driving out and the visceral racism against persons of Chinese descent upon which it depended became entrenched in the cities, the states, and the nation's social fabric. Whereas the story of Chinese immigrants and the dehumanizing atrocities committed against them should not be purged from or minimized in the telling of Antioch's history. Whereas the city of Antioch must acknowledge that the legacy of Chinese immigrants and xenophobia are part of our collective consciousness that helps contribute to the current anti-Asian American and Pacific Islander hate. whereas a genuine apology and seeking forgiveness are an important, necessary first step in the process of racial reconciliation. And whereas an apology for the dehumanization and injustices cannot erase the past, but admission of the wrongs committed can speed racial healing and reconciliation and help confront the ghost of the city's past. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Antioch, 1, apologizes to all early Chinese immigrants and their descendants who came to Antioch and were unwelcome. 2, seeks forgiveness for our acts of fundamental injustice, terror, cruelty, and brutality, and express its commitment to rectify the lingering consequences of the misdeeds committed against early Chinese immigrants under, before, and during the driving out period. This is signed by every single city council member. Usually it's just the mayor that signs these resolutions. I had every single council member sign this proclamation or resolution because it was so important in changing the course of history for our city. Today we have about 14% of our population is Asian American. And Antioch up until the 1990s was exclusively white. And it's taken a lot of hard work to get to where we're at, where we can actually claim that we're the most racially diverse city in the Bay Area. And it's these types of actions, and it takes individuals like you who are willing to make a stand. It may have been silent, it may have been a quiet protest, but you sat there, and you sat there to be served, and nobody served you. And I'm sorry that you had to experience that in my city. But today we want to rectify that.